Welcome to The Spotlight, the podcast where veterans and military spouses connect and share how their military experience has transformed their lives and their businesses. Here's your host, Bob Louthen.
Hey, this is your host, Bob Louthen, founder of the VeteranCrowd Network, the network that brings veterans and veteran-led businesses together with each other and the resources they need to prosper. And you are tuning into The Spotlight. Hey, everybody, it's Bob Louthen, the host of the VeteranCrowd Spotlight on the VeteranCrowd Network. Today, we're going to be talking about a pretty sensitive subject, that is elder financial abuse. Our guest is John Schwartz. He is a retired FBI agent, a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, former Army artillery officer. John, welcome to the program. Thanks for stepping into the spotlight.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, this is an important topic. Elder abuse. You've been working in the FBI. You've obviously seen this over the years. Let's start by talking about the scope of the problem.
Okay. Well, what I've found, I've been taking a look at elder financial abuse for approximately 9 years, and I found two articles that really caught my attention. The first is a Forbes article, Why Elder Financial Abuse is Such a Slippery Crime. That was published in February of 2015. And in that article, they quote two figures. First is from 2011 MetLife Mature Market Institute, and it says that the cost is $2.9 billion annually. But then later in the article, it mentions another study from TrueLink that says that estimates the number to be $36 billion. So I found that to be interesting. Then I found another article from Consumer Reports. It's titled "Financial Elder Abuse Costs $3 billion a Year, or is it $36 billion?" And this was published in September 2015. And it quotes the two studies that the Forbes magazine mentioned, 2.9 billion and 36 billion. So how I look at that, Bob, is I say, that's like comparing a Category 1 hurricane to a Category 5 hurricane. Listen, they're both hurricanes, right? Mm-hmm. But they're two completely different storms with two completely different.
This is a despicable crime, in my opinion. I mean, this is people preying upon our parents. I mean, the weak. What kind of despicable individual or group is perpetrating this kind of activity?
That's a great question. I'll say any person from family members all the way to trusted professionals and everywhere in between, individuals overseas conducting telemarketing frauds. But what I would say on that, who does this? I'll say, what's their motivation? Well, clearly it's money. It's elder financial abuse. But I'll also say it's the thrill of the hunt. And what I want to do at the center is study this. And I want to understand what percentage of the motivation is purely financial, but what is, again, the thrill of the hunt. And I mentioned bass fishing and, catching 5-pounders. There's a thrill there. I take that lesson that I learned from fishing directly to elder financial abuse. And I think the predators that are able to find somebody and steal hundreds of thousands of dollars gets a major thrill out of it. I think that's one of their key motivations.
This is almost a sociopathic kind of a mentality. You mentioned that a lot of it is family members preying on, their elders. Is how big of a problem is that? I mean, you hear about this stuff in families all the time, but let's talk a little bit about that. And then I want to talk about sort of the more professional criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure listeners have heard a lot of instances where family members do prey upon their loved ones. I don't know how big of a problem it is. It's well documented. And that's another piece that I want to study at the center. I want to find out who the real predators are. Is it the trusted professionals? Is it a person that's going to come to your door and ask to do handyman work? Or is it the family members? So I don't have a good question on that. But yeah, absolutely. It is family members at times, but that's a problem too, because I think what some people will look at this is when they first look at a case of elder financial abuse, they'll immediately assume that it's a family member and they won't dig deeper. But I think once you start looking deeper, then you can start seeing, well, wait a minute, it's not the family member. It's really a trusted financial professional that's actually conducting this crime.
You also relate to me, you said people showing up at the front door. Talk about the cycle of, how one of these criminals kind of draws our parents into their trap.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. They lure them, and again, going back to the bass fishing, right? I mean, I'll use a lure that imitates a bait fish. No, it's not a bait fish; it's a piece of metal with two hooks. But we use that as a lure. Well, that's the same thing that the predators will do. They will throw something at your parents. In this case, a handyman coming and saying, "Hey, I want to." I was driving by. I saw that your tree is hitting upon your roof. I can take care of that for you for $20. I can knock that limb down. And the elderly is unsuspecting, thinks this individual's there to help, and then says, yeah, that'd be great. And then does the job, then spends 15, 20 minutes talking about the weather or whatever the case may be. And then the elder thinks that this individual was honest and did a good job. Well, then the predator comes back maybe a couple of days later and says, hey, the tree looks great. Is there any other work that could do for you? Well, the elder may say, well, yeah, I got a gutter that's leaking in the backyard. Do you mind taking a look at that? And that begins the cycle. And all that's happening there is trust. Trust equals ability to commit this crime, in my book. So if a good predator, an effective predator, is able to build a large amount of trust, now that predator is in position to steal a large sum of money.
It's one of the first lines of defense is to maintain a healthy level of skepticism. I'll have these people show up at my front door and they're doing something, and one of the tactics that they will use is, well, a lot of your neighbors are doing this. They thought you would be interested also. I'm pretty short with them, but is that not is having a heightened sense of skepticism maybe our first line of defense?
Yeah, absolutely. I would. That's one of the main things I want to push forward with the center is let individuals know, especially our older listeners, that today's world there are predators out there, and they are targeting you, and they have done an assessment on you, and they are now, once they conduct their assessment and think that it's worth their while to approach you, then they will. So yeah, it's important for the listeners to understand there are predators out there, and they will conduct an assessment on you. But one of the things I want to teach individuals is how to conduct a self-assessment.
How much of the stuff is related to automobiles and so forth? I mean, the staging accidents and that sort of thing. Is that another element of elder abuse? I think, a personal story, someone I knew, elderly, had a traffic accident. Well, as soon as the person found out that, one, it was elderly, and two, they had some money, all of a sudden it was a bigger deal. Is that, part of this problem, this conundrum?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen any specific cases of that, but if I hear cases like you're mentioning, I would say I would not be surprised at all.
One other, specific incident I think I shared with you was, an individual trying to convince this was a family member convincing an elderly person to change their will, to redirect that inheritance in that person's direction. You see a lot of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. What I'll say with the crime of elder financial abuse, the main weapon in elder financial abuse is the pen. It's not a gun. It's not a knife. It's not a bomb. It's simply the pen. And if a person can get an elderly person to change either a will or thoughts escaping me right now, or a trust or a power of attorney, if they can get that individual to change that, then they have control. And again, like I said, going back to my relationship between control and ability to steal, if a family member or anybody can get an individual to sign these documents, then yeah, now they have control and there's not much that can be done. So that would be one of the largest red flags that I would see is if an individual is come up with a new will and they're in their 70s, I would take a hard look at that. And I would not stop at just looking at the family member.
So is one piece of advice potentially to say to folks, find a couple of trusted folks and, give them some authority to review or um, uh, opine on changes that are going to be made to any of those legal documentations as a form of protection, sort of a stopgap. You might be able to fool me, but if I have an advisor or someone who has my best interest in mind, kind of taking a second look at it and asking the hard questions, isn't that another form of a line of defense in this process?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Bob. And that's a very good point. So what I would encourage listeners to do is conduct a self-assessment. If you're 65 years old, you're healthy, you're still active in the church, you have social groups, find an individual in that group that you can share these type of thoughts with, because you want that trusted individual from age 65 to say age 70. Now, when you're 70 years old, now the predator is going to look at you differently than when you were 70, than you were 65. So you need to have that trusted individual.
Your risk goes up.
Yeah, the risk goes up. And so you need that honest individual that you trust to explain to you, yeah, well, yeah, you're not 65 anymore, you're 70 right now. And yeah, the risk of you being taken advantage of is increasing. Then I would say if you get to age 73, 75, and unfortunately now you lose your spouse, that's a very tough thing to go through. But now you need that individual that you trust to say, listen, your risk assessment just went higher because now an individual can isolate you because you don't have your spouse here with you. So it's a control continuum.
Countless stories of people discovering, after the fact that their parents have been victims.
And now a word about a VeteranCrowd Spotlight sponsor. The Severn River Leadership Group is a veteran-owned small business committed to the development and success of military veterans, first responders, elite athletes, and our community. We invest in each with our time, talent, and treasure through small business investing, coaching, and consulting. Leadership can be a very lonely place because of all of the responsibility and accountability involved and the decisions that need to be made. In today's world, small business owners and entrepreneurs need a trusted advisor in their corner to have real conversations about real life and business stuff. That's what the Severn River Leadership Group provides: personal leadership and team coaching for small business owners and entrepreneurs focused on emotional intelligence, personal and team resilience, decision-making, and team effectiveness. If you are a veteran, first responder, or elite athlete small business owner looking for a trusted advisor to help you get to the next level, connect with us online at www.severnriverleadershipgroup.com.
Hey, we're talking with John Schwartz. John is setting up the Center for Combating Elder Financial Abuse, a nonprofit. But John, I want to shift gears on you. I want to go back in time a little bit now. You went to West Point. You were an Army artillery officer. How'd you end up going to West Point? How did that come about? How did the 18-year-old John Schwartz make that decision?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll tell you, my father was my motivation for it. He in my high school years, he and I talked about all three service academies. And your initial question, what MOS would I choose other than the Army? My first choice was to fly airplanes. So my dad and I talked about the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, and then second semester junior year, before I was taking in Arkansas, we take the ACT, not the SAT. So we were filling out the application for the ACT, and he said, "Well, why don't we send your
What
scores?"
part of Arkansas did you grow up in, by the way?
Southeastern part, town of Crossett, Arkansas,
How far is that from Little Rock? I'm
about
curious.
2 hours south.
Pine Bluff, Arkansas, is that close by?
Yeah, absolutely.
I made a trip to the International Paper Company paper mill in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, one time in my youth. So anyway,
Well,
a lot of pine
fantastic.
trees where you grew up. A lot of pine trees where you grew up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we lived in the middle of a pine forest, and we were built around a Georgia Pacific paper mill, and
There you go.
loved it. I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and moved to Arkansas at age 5. My
Mm-hmm.
father was in the paper industry, so it's interesting how someone from Michigan can end up in the deep woods of Arkansas. But it was fantastic growing up.
How'd you like West Point?
I loved it.
Well, we'll set aside the first couple of weeks, the Beast Barracks or whatever the heck they call it for you, that plebe summer.
No, absolutely. I loved it. I'll say that the best part about the academy experience is the people that you meet. The finest individuals that you'll ever meet, extremely talented, and I'm just glad that I was able to be a part of that group. But
It's a real
I
bonding experience too.
had a very strong bonding experience. That's a very intense 4 years, and everyone gets to know each other very well, strengths and weaknesses, and in that develops a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You went into the Army. Tell us a little bit about that, and then I'm really interested in how you became an FBI agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So after graduation, chose to be a field artillery officer. Went to our field artillery officer basic course. After that, I had a chance to go to the Army Ranger School. Enjoyed that. That was a very intense course as well. I learned a lot about leadership in those 2 months at the Ranger School. After I graduated from there, went to my first assignment was Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I was part of a Lance missile unit, and that was a surface-to-surface nuclear capable missile. So that was a very unique experience I was able to have. From there, I was able to go to Korea for a year with another Lance missile unit, and then came back, went to officer advanced course, then went to Fort Drum, New York.
Probably classified, but I hope the range of the missile was exceeded the blast radius of the warhead.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it was a fairly outdated system at the time. We were in the last stages of its use, but it was a very unique experience. I really enjoyed learning that.
How'd you find out about, the FBI recruits people with some experience, right? They
That's
don't get
right.
you right out of college.
No, that's right. For an agent position, they're looking for you to have experience, but there are opportunities to join professional staff right out of college. And I would, for listeners that are interested in the FBI that are still college students, take a look at FBIjobs.gov and take a look at the professional staffing. But you get one of those jobs right out of college, then you can move up into a agent position in 3 to 5 years.
Talk about the training of agents and, what's it like? What's the lifestyle?
It's fantastic. Going to Quantico, when you get to Quantico, for me, back in 1996, December 1996, I was one of 50 members of our new agent class. And for approximately the next 5 months, 4.5 months, we trained and learned firearms. We learned legal system, and finally we drew heavily on the investigation portion to include interviews. Very intense. How to effect arrest, how to use tactics in buildings and as well as neighborhoods. It was very intense, very very encompassing as well.
The FBI is involved in a lot of things, both domestically and overseas. Did you have overseas deployments as part of during your career, as domestic assignments?
No, it was all domestic. I spent all my time here in the DC area, but I had a chance to do both national security as well as criminal investigations.
National security. Okay. Without divulging anything, can you share us a little bit? Is there like one particular story that pops out that you might be able to share in your experience that was harrowing or rewarding? I don't know which it might be.
I tell you what, I wish I could answer that, but I just retired. I don't want to step
And you can't
off
divulge
any
any of
boundaries.
this stuff.
But
Okay.
I will say though that the I can say that I enjoyed the national security investigations. I found those to be most intriguing and most challenging.
So you would have been joining the FBI in what, the mid 90s, early 90s?
Yeah, in December of '96, graduated from Quantico actually on April 1st, 1997, April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine there was a little bit of gallows humor about that amongst the team, but
Yeah, we were like, how did this happen?
hey, 9/11 happened. You're in the DC area for that?
Yeah, yeah, I sure was. Was able to help in our efforts at the Pentagon over the course of 6 weeks. I arrived. I've arrived at the Pentagon within a half hour after the plane hit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers where they were that morning. Your story is much more interesting than mine. I was actually driving to a meeting in DC,
Oh
and
wow.
a friend of mine called me and said, "Have you been watching the news?" And no, I said, "I'm headed up to a meeting in the DC area for at 10 o'clock. I hadn't quite gotten there yet." Well, you know, turned on the radio, and then it was probably probably about 9:40 or something that the plane hit the Pentagon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when all cell phone service in Northern Virginia went down. Uh, but
Yeah, that's
anyway,
right.
what a day! What a day! Hey, folks, we're talking with John Schwartz. He is the founder for the Center for Combating Elder Financial Abuse. He is a West Point grad, artillery officer, and retired FBI agent. Hey, John, let's talk now about the next 6 months to a year, and what's sort of the game plan here for rolling out this Center for Combating Elder Financial Abuse.
No, thanks so much. So we just stood up. I became incorporated in February 8th. Since that time, I've been putting it together. So our outlook for the next 6 months is our first of all, our mission is to help educate individuals. We want to educate law enforcement. We want to educate financial institutions, social service groups like Lions Club, Rotary Club. We want to educate uh, uh, higher education, universities, if we can help with criminology programs or maybe even law programs. That's what we want to do. So our initial 6 months, we just want to make our first initial contacts with these groups, have a couple of meetings, see what the intelligence gap is. What do they really need, and what can we offer them? So that's the plan for the next 6 months. So a year from now will be a World Elder Abuse Awareness Day on June 15th, 2022, and uh, we want our center to have one of the premier programs in our country on World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
You say we, and we've talked about the team. Who's helping you with this project?
I got a couple of West Point classmates that are helping me out, as well as my wife's cousin. His father helped me initially before he passed away last year. So
The big effort from the class of 1986 at West Point, huh?
yes, absolutely, and I'm very grateful for their help with this, because it's a daunting endeavor. What we're trying to do here is not easy. We're not doing it because it's easy. We're doing it because we do have a sense of a duty. And that goes back to what the Academy teaches us. And now at this stage in our lives, we want to serve, and we're going to serve 50 million elders in the United States.
How do you define success for this? I mean, sort of the commander's intent portion of the operations order for the uh, for this center.
Well, that's a great question. I'll tell you that, again, there's 50 million elders in the United States a day. If we can only help 2%, we can help 2% of that group. That's helping 1 million people. That's success for us. Now, we think we're going to help more than 2% once we get our feet underneath us. But that's success for us right now for the next year. If we can reach out to 2%.
What, from a corporate standpoint, it strikes me that there would be certain businesses that would have interest in supporting what you're doing, certainly the financial services industry and so forth. Will you be reaching out to corporations to support this nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely are. How I look at financial institutions is, they're with us through our entire adult life. Getting a loan for your student loan, for a car, for a home, and then for your investments, and they'll carry you through the rest of your life. We want to help financial institutions help the elderly in that last 10 years of their life, protect their assets and help detect the predators who are coming to get those assets, because that's exactly what the predators do. They will, if the predator can take all of your life savings, they will. And again, it goes back
it's a despicable person. I mean, they ought to bury these people under the jail. And, in my opinion, another question crosses my mind. It seems like there could be an awful lot of healthcare benefits abuse as well. That's another entree for people to abuse the elderly, get into their Medicare benefits and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to get into healthcare benefits, what about getting into their veteran benefits as well? There's the predators understand how much these benefits are worth, and if they think they can gain control of an elder, they will, and then take control of these benefits.
I have to hope that there's a special section in hell for these individuals who do this. I mean, I, I can't, I cannot fathom people doing that. But at the end of the day, people will tell you anything and do a lot of things for money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, you're exactly right on that. One of the best articles I came across was from the New Yorker magazine from October 2017. And the title of that is How the Elderly Lose Their Rights. And it highlights a fraudulent guardian in Nevada. Her name was April Parks. And she was able to get court orders out of a county court for guardianship, and then go straight to these individuals' homes, who are now their wards, and take them out of their homes. And that is one of the most despicable crimes I've seen. That article in the New Yorker magazine is fantastic. And just recently, by timing's great, February 2021, Netflix came out with a movie, I Care a Lot. And that movie also portrays a fraudulent guardian. I don't know if it's based on.
Was this person just picking out random individuals and getting guardianship for them through the courts, or was it people that she knew?
It's people that she targeted. I don't know her targeting process specifically, but yeah,
But it was multiple individuals.
Yeah, multiple individuals. She was sentenced to 16 to 40 in 2019. She was sentenced to 16 to 40 years for the crimes that she committed.
Sounds like she got off easy to me.
It's tough. It's really tough. I'll suggest to your listeners to take a look at this Netflix movie, I Care a Lot, especially the first 26 minutes of the movie. In my opinion, those first 26 minutes really shows how the predator, and they are predators, how the predator targets this individual and then goes in and is able to gain control. And it's called isolate, medicate, take the estate. And these predators are excellent at it.
We've been talking with John Schwartz. John, thank you so much. How do people get in touch with you?
Please go to my website. It's endefa.org. On there, I have a portion to where you can contact me, fill in your name, put a message in, and simply hit submit button, and I'll get it.
I think this is just a very important issue. John, thanks for joining us today. We'll put links to your website and some of the other things that we cited today. Maybe we can get that Netflix video linked up here and dropped into the show notes so people can go watch that very important show on Netflix. John Schwartz, thanks so much for stepping into the spotlight. I really appreciate you being my guest.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you've been listening to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. We're bringing veterans and military spouses who are making a big difference in our community. John Schwartz is certainly one of those folks, bringing us the Center for Combating Elder Financial Abuse, just a really important topic. John, I'm going to throw out a big Army Bravo Zulu to you, brother. Thanks so much for being on the program, and that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Spotlight by VeteranCrowd. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and uploads, please visit our website at VeteranCrowdNetwork.com. We'll see you next time.